Welcome to episode 39 of the Animus podcast. I'm Aftermath. That's Aries.
Hello.
That's Connor, aka McCracken.
Hi.
We have a great episode up here in store for you today. But right now we're all watching the PSX keynote, so we might talk a little bit about that before we get into it. We have a few things to talk about real quick before we get into our main topics. The Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta is on right now for people who bought the Nathan Drake collection, and that means that out of all of us, it's only me that's playing it. I'm really enjoying it. It's a ton of fun. Looking forward to it. The content is a bit sparse, but that's most likely going to be just chalked up to it being a beta, and that would be the only issue I have with it right now. It's really great to play, and it's a ton of fun right now.
At least that's not all that it has to stand on. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
that seems to be like Battlefront felt that way in the beta, and it seems like it transferred into the actual game.
And also Evolve, too.
Yeah, I think part of Evolve's
Brilliant
problem
idea
is like,
with about 20 minutes of gameplay to it.
Mm-hmm.
well, I think Evolve is like a game that works really well and has a lot of depth if you constantly have like the same 4-player group to play it always.
Yeah, fair enough.
And probably, locally, which nobody does anymore.
Yeah. It's strange how Naughty Dog seems to be like the only company these days that can do a really solid multiplayer with a really solid story. Like, even like AC...
Last of Us.
Yeah, exactly. Last of Us being the main one, but even Uncharted 3 got praised for its multiplayer. Even AC, like, with the AC multiplayer, that was always in the background, probably from Brotherhood or Revelations onward. It was always kind of that other thing. It didn't get as much marketing or anything like that as the main story. And some people really liked the multiplayer and were hardcore fans of it, but I think that most of the people that bought AC at the time definitely bought it for the single player. Which is, and kind of only checked out, if the subreddit is anything to go by, then most people only played the multiplayer just to get the trophies and then never touched it again, which I think was mostly what I was doing.
I think certainly like the fan base that still plays AC is like that. Just because, they phased out the multiplayer in the last couple entries, so the people who are still around are the people who enjoy the single player experience more so.
Fair enough. But
yeah, I mean, I would enjoy multiplayer returning if they redid it. As we've mentioned a lot, like the engine hadn't changed for the entire time it existed. So
yeah, it was the Brotherhood engine was the whole thing all the way through, right? Or was it an AC2 engine?
It was Brotherhood.
It was the Brotherhood engine. I mean,
Okay,
Brotherhood AC2.
Yeah, like on PC, you actually had to like start up the other game because they were just too like they were like the multiplayer and the game itself were two separate games from like for 3 and 4. They were, so you had to like just package together. So you would start up one and then you close that one and then start up the other because of how separate they were.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, I know a lot of Xbox games used to be like that. Just because I think the disc format didn't allow you to put as much stuff on the disc as PlayStation games, which use Blu-ray discs.
Oh yeah. I think the last like Metal Gear, the one before 5, not Ground Zero either, but like it didn't come to Xbox because it would have had to be on like 13 discs if it did.
Damn.
And so they managed to just fit it on like 2 PlayStation 3 discs because of that Blu-ray. That was a massive thing.
I remember there was a huge thing about games being put on 2 discs for Xbox rather than PlayStation.
Yeah, that was a massive thing that the PS3 had over Xbox 360 in that generation, but with all the PS3's other failings, didn't quite pull it out over Xbox.
What would you consider the other failings? Just because I feel like I didn't hop onto PS3 that early, so I didn't really understand what the
price.
Why?
Didn't it cost like $300 more than the Xbox when it was first announced?
I can see that.
That was a massive issue for a lot of people, and the original announcement, the way they handle announcements and things like that, getting hacked often, and like Xbox was hacked, I think, pretty much around the same amount of times, but Xbox didn't shut down for 2 months or whatever it was.
PlayStation had some problems with that.
Still, I played Infamous because of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Infamous. Oh man, I remember that was right when the beta was supposed to go out, and I was like, I'm gonna download it when I get home, and PlayStation's down for 3 months. Oops.
Yeah, I think PS4 is doing pretty well now, though, which is good.
Yes, it's definitely
Yes.
doing far better than the Xbox right now. Like, Xbox is doing surprisingly badly, and Wii U is doing basically the worst Nintendo console for sales. I think since I can't remember what one was their worst one.
The VR headset thing, probably.
Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy.
No, I wasn't meaning that. It's done way better than that. But like, even something like the Sega Saturn, which I know wasn't Nintendo, but it's just considered the benchmark for horrible sales. Wii U is doing about, and I think only a bit better than that right now.
Oof.
But yeah, PS4 is definitely well in the lead in terms of Xbox. And it
Yeah.
seems like, well, see, this was the surprising thing, is that PlayStation doesn't have a lot of console exclusives coming out this holiday season, so a lot of people thought that this would be a time for when Xbox would kind of surpass, because Xbox has a lot of console exclusives this year, while all of PlayStations are coming out next year or the year after that. But somehow, I guess, PlayStation 4, their marketing and things has held on to it. And of course, PlayStation now has Call of Duty as well.
Yeah, don't know how they
at
wrangled that
least,
from Xbox. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Usually, you just think like there are 3 things that go with Call of Duty: Xbox, Mountain Dew, and Doritos. And PlayStation has stolen one of those, so I don't even know what Call of Duty is anymore. Its identity's just been ripped apart from me.
Yeah.
I was never too up on its identity to know that.
I mean, I
very well.
never owned a Call of Duty. I've played it like twice. One of the few all-nighters I've ever pulled in my life was with my buddy Jackson and 2 of our other friends. We stayed up playing Call of Duty until it was sun out, and then we went outside and we were like,
yeah.
shit, we just spent the entire night playing Call of Duty. It
Yeah,
was
actually,
fun,
at a band lock-in in high school, several of us did that while other people were socializing and playing, like hide and seek in the auditorium and having fun with other people. I was sitting there playing a game at which I had no skill, and I don't know. The pull of video games is strong sometimes.
Yeah.
Be wary of that.
Now, we didn't realize it at the time, but this section does contain spoilers for Syndicate's ending, so you might want to skip ahead to the timestamp which is in the description to skip this if you have not finished Syndicate just yet. So first thing we want to talk about this week was the Jack the Ripper theme that was released. Aries. Actually, no. Let's go with Connor.
Yeah,
Can you lead us
Connor.
in with this one? Because
He knows more about this than I
You're
do.
the music man. The music man.
Yeah, let me just think of something to say real fast.
First off, if you have the means to, go pause this and listen to the whole thing, because it deserves your attention. It is a very, very, very good good theme song that you should totally listen to.
You can find it on
Because
the
it's creepy.
you can find it on the UB Loud YouTube channel.
Yeah. Also, if I don't know if it's still near the front page of. It probably won't be near the front page of the sub by the time this comes out, but it's probably not going to be too far off.
Yeah.
By then.
But also-
McCreary's theme from Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Jack the Ripper. So, I guess on the one hand, it's a shame that Austin Wintory isn't doing the soundtrack. On the other, this piece seems something that is very suited for this DLC. In kind of a, it's great. It's a bit cliched, I think, which is good because I think that indicates to me a direction that they're going with this DLC. Like, they avoided the Dark London for the main game, and it sounds like they're going that direction for Jack the Ripper, which makes this soundtrack appropriate. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely
Austin's
really enjoyed it.
Austin's very doing amazing new stuff every time, and that's awesome, and I love it. Not like what you want for every single thing, I guess. If I'm trying to make up a reason for why they did that, or it could just be Austin was like, nah, I don't want to.
Yeah. And another thing relating to Jack the Ripper this week that came out, but we won't be talking about too much, was that Mega on the subreddit dove into the Syndicate files and found several cutscenes, possibly every cutscene, from the Jack the Ripper DLC. None of us here watched them for fear of spoilers, because there were spoilers in it.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. It also showcased the new skills, so it's confirmed that there are new skills with Jack the Ripper DLC. Apparently everyone's saying that Evie looks very old. She looks closer to 50 than 40.
Well, still, it's a long time has passed. And
Yeah.
I'm curious how they're handling the story, just because it does take place so long after Syndicate. It certainly makes me feel less good about my hope that they do another game with these characters, just because 20 years is a long time to have nothing happening.
Yeah.
So
well,
it feels like
Ezio,
they're doing that within one game.
ran around and then came back to Florence, so
Yeah, but
not
that was
unheard of.
within. I don't know. I feel, but they went back with Ezio in the next game, going on to his future. Whereas I feel like, especially the way in my head, it's like, Evie goes to India, we get a game out of that. It feels like they're skipping that time period to handle this DLC. Just because I can't imagine that she'd spend 20 years doing nothing.
Well, she was planning on going to India.
Yeah, so she probably went there, which makes me less... It makes me think that there's less of a possibility of having a game with that character in India. Which is my hope at the moment.
I wonder if we'll see... I'm really interested to see where the characters are at now, because, so much time has passed. I wonder if Evie and Henry have had their own children, because we know that most likely Jacob has had his
retroactive
kids by now.
spoiler alert. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, we should put a spoiler tag at the beginning of the episode, maybe, for talking about this.
Yeah, I'll throw
it
in.
Stuff.
So you were warned, not our fault.
So I'm interested to see where they're at now. To see if Evie and Henry have had children, because we know that Jacob most likely has had kids by now, because he'd be getting on in age by this point, and we know that he had grandkids that are old enough to be running around as assassins in World War One. So we know that he had kids shortly after Syndicate's time period.
He trained as well, so...
Yeah.
That database entry really makes it seem unlikely that Jack equals Jacob theory has any merit at all.
Thank God.
Yeah. I'm still slightly worried just because of that German translation, but that's probably just a fluke.
I'm still interested in where Jacob is during this, because we know that this is all a very big focus on Evie. So,
I think
doing.
Sure, we'll see.
What I would like a lot is, say, there's a modern day reason for doing Jack the Ripper at this point in time, and then doing a game explaining what happened in the intervening years next. I would really appreciate that, at least.
Yeah. I'd like that.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this might test the waters for seeing how interested people are in the future of these characters. Because especially, I don't know, if Evie's changed a lot, which might be the case, then I'll be interested to see... I would love to see some character progression, I guess, and then later see how we got there. There's a little bit in King's Quest that I've been playing this week that's kind of like that, where they show you the eventual consequence of something and then later show you what the thing that happened was. It was kind of interesting.
Right.
By the way, that's free on PlayStation Plus, so everybody should play it. It's a kind of fun adventure game. It's not Walking Dead, where every choice is, it's not very branching or choice oriented, but it's pretty fun. Just a light, humorous world that's fun to be in and see things happen in. But anyway, speaking of not like the opposite of that, back to the DLC stuff.
One little thing before we move on. I wanted to talk about the song itself and say, what Mercako and I were talking about when we were first listening to this was, oh my god, it sounds so wrong, but somehow also so good. And Mercako might tell me if I'm saying something that's wrong, but it sounded to me like in a lot of the kind of clangy percussion that goes on, it is somehow at the same time sharp and flat. or alternating between the two, because it just sounds ever so slightly off. That makes it sound and kind of feel uncomfortable. That puts you in this nice little frame of mind of like, I'm in dark London, I don't feel safe, I'm going to get murdered by Jack the Ripper. Which I think, again, going back to the whole like super cliche dark London thing, I think does it really well because it uses the elements of being off tune effectively.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't have one pitch that is both sharp and flat at the same time.
Yeah, but somehow it just sounds vaguely off.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that, like, he's maybe tuned some of the notes like a quarter step off from what we think of as their, I mean, there's a lot of intonation that has been developed over the course of, a long time, like the Renaissance. Specifically, I think it's just intonation that we use now, which is the system of half steps and whole steps, if you know anything about music. Whereas it used to be they used quarter steps a lot, which would make some pitches that now we have like pitches that sound the same but are called by different notes. By different note names like E flat and D sharp. But with that old system, you'd have E flat and D sharp would be like a quarter step apart. And I think, I don't know, I expect that's somewhat what he's done. And I don't think he's gone as far as going into equal temperament like that. He's probably just tuned the notes like a little bit off so that when you hear them, they are in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
But they're gross because they're ever so slightly out of tune with the rest of the piece. I mean, there's a lot of things like that. Like, technically, the way we hear like major chords, we hear like one of the pitches a little sharper than instruments play it naturally, and another pitch we hear it a little flatter than the instruments play it naturally to get the purest sound for a major chord. And I think he's just messed with. He's gone the opposite direction. Rather than like adjusting to make the chord sound good, he's adjusting to make the chord sound bad. Which is like, I don't know, that's a big thing in music is dissonance, the use of dissonance and consonance. Dissonance setting up expectation for consonance, and extended dissonance making you feel uncomfortable because you want consonance, you want niceness. And for, I mean, it's used a lot for horror, and since this is going the more horror route, it seems, I think that this is an awesome choice, an awesome decision that this composer's made. Speaking weirdly of the percussion, just the way it's used, it kind of reminds me of Revelations' soundtrack.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of with the cymbals clanging. That was that. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like, for those of you who recall the song "Welcome to Constantinople," it has some of that same feel to it, oddly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a bit of that. There's at least one more like it's in that stable of songs. It's like the opening to the game when you first arrive in Constantinople, but it shares similarities with that. If I just listened to all the songs again like I did for that soundtrack episode way back episode 12, and I would probably have a better idea of what it was, but it's been a while. I have another music history test coming up soon, so I'm not listening to music for fun.
Sad.
So, yes, everyone's excited for Jack the Ripper. We have some predictions on when it will be released. Some people think it will be released on December 15th to coincide with the end of the Assassin's Creed's Christmas fan contest, which will be finished and the winners will be announced on December 15th. And people think that, we could have like a coinciding launch live stream for Jack the Ripper at the same time. But I kind of think they would have announced it by now if it was going to be in 10 days,
I don't know. I think the other reason that they're thinking that is because that's when the soundtrack is released on the 15th.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah, I hope it is released on the 15th because I can't imagine it being released earlier than that. And later than that, I have fewer days to play it, or possibly no days to play it before I leave for other countries, for abroad. As it is, I have 4 days to play it if it comes out on the 15th. So I would appreciate it if it came out on the 15th.
And I just remembered that those cutscenes also revealed that this will be taking place in winter. So we finally get to see that
sweet.
Wintry,
Nice.
perhaps Christmas. Maybe we'll get some Christmas themes.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Dickens.
I think we are going to... That makes me definitely think that we're going to have a separate map, probably a focused Whitechapel map.
Yeah, could do.
Yeah, just because, like, especially I was looking at maps of London recently, and I mean, we really have in Syndicate, like, just the center of London, almost. There's a lot to the sides, and up and down. I mean, you know, northwest, east, south. Like, Whitechapel extends a lot to the east. City of London also extends a lot to the east. Southwark extends a lot to the east. Lambeth is about right. It's weird that, like, I don't know, just the way it's set up with Westminster Palace at the edge of the map seems very much like, oh, that's the edge of the map, but there's so much to the west of that as well. The river is so huge and keeps going, but yeah, that's not...
Right.
Point is, I think we're going to have a larger, expanded Whitechapel map rather than
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
revisiting a lot of the locations.
Given that it's a very small district in game, and it has quite a large focus on the Jack the Ripper murders. Speaking of history and historical characters and history people, including just like Jack the Ripper himself, there are also several of those people of that persuasion in the Syndicate base game. So we'll be talking a bit about that. We'll be talking about the other side missions which are included within Syndicate. First off, I want to talk about Florence Nightingale's inclusion within the game, because it was very interesting. She didn't have any side missions, but she did play a large role in the story itself. She actually helped Evie with one of her cleanup missions after Jacob went through and trashed everything. That was after Soothing Syrup. Do you guys remember much about Florence Nightingale? Did you like her inclusion?
She really didn't get a lot of screen time, but I like the way she was portrayed. She's like, Evie, help me, make sure the people of London don't all die, which I certainly appreciated. But I like that she was very much like in charge. She knew what she was doing. She's like, Evie, get this, and then I'll be able to save this tiny child. Which I guess spoilers of who it was.
Let's just not mention it.
Tiny child. Okay, cool. So I liked how she was like very in charge, knew what she was doing. I can see how you're the foundation of modern medicine. That'll make sense. So I thought she was portrayed nicely, even if only for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I like the way she's portrayed, but like, it does feel kind of weird, just like that everybody else got their own missions that she didn't. I would wonder if they were planned and just not done, or something. But it kind of makes me feel a little bit like they just included her to say that they had another historical character. I don't know. I mean, she also shows up briefly in somebody else's missions, side missions, where I guess her inclusion makes sense, but I don't know. It seems almost like they needed a doctor for a sequence or two, and they're like, okay, we'll just use Florence Nightingale.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. But
I'm not like,
I did like the inclusion though.
Yeah, I don't mind that she's in it. It just I don't know. I guess it's like
half-assed and not as much effort put into it as the rest of them, which is interesting. Perhaps Evie's cleanup sequence was meant to be like a full sequence, and she would have played a major role in that, which would have kind of been substituted for having her own side missions.
We haven't talked about it, and I haven't listened to it, but Loomer did another interview with Jeffrey O'Hallam,
I've
And
listened to most of that episode. I think I've only got about a quarter of it left to go.
yeah, well, I had read like the major points thing that somebody did on Reddit, and one of the things was apparently Syndicate was initially meant to be, because I mean in the story there's a lot of like, it's the capitalist industrialists who are the bad guys, and Jacob does a lot of things that have reverberating consequences like on London. Apparently originally it was meant to be like, when Jacob did these things, like physical prices of in-game things would go up because he bashed the economy.
Yeah.
Until Evie fixed it. So I think that sounds to me like that kind of element where Evie really has to work to fix things was originally intended to be larger. So
Yeah.
I would probably agree with the thought that maybe there was supposed to be more of like more to that, because as it is like a mission every sequence where Evie cleans up after Jacob.
Yeah, it was meant to be a little bit larger, and it was basically Ubisoft executives were like, no, we can't do that because that would be too difficult for some non-experienced players. Assassin's Creed is very easy right now, as we all know.
Yeah,
But they
actually,
for storytelling purposes, they were wanted to tell the story through the actions and like to actually be palpable in the world. So like after the soothing syrup, then suddenly like medicine will be harder to get, and after he nearly completely collapses the British Empire's economy, then everything would cost a whole bunch more.
yeah, and I mean it wouldn't be like a revolutionary mechanic in itself. Like there's lots of games that, as you get further in the game, things start to cost more. I mean, even Unity kind of did it with the medicine. Like, the more health you had, the more medicine cost. And I don't know. I think it brought up this thought in my mind. Like, I wish Assassin's Creed would do more with the gameplay to really show off like historical concepts or the period more. Because I mean, although I don't think it's as bad as people say, Assassin's Creed, it is obviously iterative, and there are lots of its systems that do feel the same year after year, and I think just inserting something like that would really shake it up, and make each period feel really different would be welcome. I mean, it's just like it's a thought. It's not fully formed, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's just something that interview made me think about.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see more stuff along those lines. I'm trying to think of ways that would fit into, say the other previous games, but I really like the idea. I could actually
think of one with Unity, which is initially they were supposed to have the crowds really react to you.
Which
I
we
think
can
they could
see
have
in
used that.
You can see that in the A3 gameplay and trailers for
Yeah,
Unity.
they definitely did that. I wish if they had done that, I think that would have really worked with the mob mentality that was the French Revolution in Paris. I don't know. I think there's a lot of historical concepts that are huge, like when you actually talk about the period in any serious context, but that Assassin's Creed kind of leaves by the wayside in favor of just making a really cool looking world. I don't know, but this is like, man, my ultimate historical simulator game as a historian would be this. So I'm not obviously the main audience, and neither is Gregory here, because we're both history majors after a fashion. So we're already equipped to deal with this stuff, and I don't know if that would be a good idea for the general audience, because again, like Assassin's Creed is sort of this iterative title that year by year, it's not too hard, and it wants to just attract fans all over the place. So people would have probably not enjoyed like one sequence like, oh, I can buy medicine no problem, and then the next sequence like, I don't even have enough money to buy like a single throwing knife.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I feel like you get a lot of comments, around saying like, this is bullshit. Why this doesn't make any sense, because people don't really. I don't think the everyman knows a lot about how international economics and monetary policy like that works. But I think, yeah, it'd be neat, but I don't know if it would make a really great game.
I think it would make a really great game, but I think that it's not something that they should do off the series as it is. That seems to me like something that would be part of a significant rebranding, like if they had taken several years off and then brought the series back later. And I'm still not like a huge proponent of that, but that's the only circumstance under which I see like that different of a game being released.
So the next historical character is Dickens.
That was a cool discussion, though.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. But I guess speaking of, I think the thing Assassin's Creed does when it comes to getting the history right, I think in a lot of cases, is really people. And we talked about this earlier, that the thing that makes Syndicate unique compared to some of the other more recent games is the big focus on real people that you know about. So in AC3, there are a lot of people you know about and a lot of people you don't, so you're not really sure who's who. Certainly with the French Revolution, there were maybe like 2 or 3 names I recognized from my general knowledge, but the rest of these people, like, half the Assassin Council is real historical figures like Mirabeau. Who knew he was a real guy? I didn't.
Unity did it like weirdly because it was like there are 1,000 historical characters in Unity,
and we chose like 4 of them.
Yeah, people know like 3 of them, and the story only ever touches on like those 3. Except, I mean, there's more obviously that you don't know who they are, and then there's a billion in the side missions, none of whom are explained, and who are given like the short end of the stick because they're just random character models almost. And I don't know. That's also my problems with like Unity's representation of events as well. But yeah, like Thomas Paine in Unity is wonky and bad. But anyway, yeah.
So Dickens, I think I really like the way he was kind of introduced, and that you bump into him and he drops his Connor. What was the story that he was working on? He's like, I'll never finish this thing.
Yeah, it's Edwin Drood. I don't remember the full title, but it's like the Curious Case of Edwin Drood or something like that. Let me look it up. It's essentially his last manuscript that is unfinished. Like, he died before he could finish it. And I thought that was an interesting touch.
When did Dickens die? Do you know? You guys know if you had the top of your head?
He died 1870.
Okay, yeah, so he wasn't around much longer after Syndicate.
We just caught him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might also be one of the reasons why Syndicate takes place in 1868, is because if it was later than that, then they could not have had Charles Dickens in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's The Mystery of Edwin Drood. I actually have a copy of the manuscript that you can get at Dickens's house itself. But I don't know, that I liked that because I felt like it was a little historical in-joke, which was cool. Because they kept referencing it almost. Like, he would say, like, there was at least one Ghost Club mission that he was like, this would make a very interesting novel. And I'm like, you're not going to survive to make any more novels, dude.
Oops.
And, like, when you first meet him, he's like, blasted Drood, I'll never get finished at this rate. And I'm like, no, you won't. You're right.
Sorry, buddy.
But it was cool. I liked his missions a lot, and I liked his character a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Ghost Club missions. They were a ton of fun to see. These kind of like Victorian era myths, like Spring Heel Jack returning twice, and those were a ton of fun.
And he's kind of caught.
The hypnotist guy was fun.
I like the hypnotist guy. I've seen a lot of hate for him on Reddit. Enzio, yeah. I think I don't know. I think a lot of people are just don't like that he hypnotized you. I thought it made for an interesting mission, but it is. I mean, I don't know. Hypnotism period is kind of creepy. Like, I mean, if you want evidence of that, just watch Jessica Jones, where it's like taken to extremes.
Yeah.
But,
I thought it was fun how when you in the mission we're trying to go kill him or capture him, whatever it is. If you get caught, he'll be like, "Ooh, you're getting sleepy. Get the hell out of my house." And then it hard cuts to Evie outside, like, "Wait a minute, this isn't right."
Hold up.
and you
What?
turn around and go back. And I thought that was a really fun touch. I did it like 3 more times just because it was really funny.
I also
And
liked
'cause I
like
was not paying
seeing
attention to stealth.
I like seeing the last couple seconds of Evie's dance in the in the cell at the end of the first
Oh
mission.
yeah, the chicken dance.
Yeah, that was just like so. That made me laugh. I thought that was hilarious. But I don't know. I like that they portray Mr. Dickens as kind of caught in the middle of skepticism and belief in the
Yeah.
supernatural. Whereas the twins are very much like Jacob's like, there's nothing supernatural, period. And Evie's like, I totally believe in ghosts, which seems weird since she's the more logical twin. But
I don't think she said she totally believed in ghosts, but like, yeah, we'll do it for Mr. Dickens. Let's help him out. And you see what he's on about.
That I think they were straight up asked whether they believed in ghosts, and Jacob was like, no, and he was like, yes. I mean, they didn't elaborate on it that much, but it's certainly true that like with the final mission with Spring-Heeled Jack as well, Evie is still of the mind that it was possibly supernatural, whereas at least Charles is like, I maybe, but I don't know, maybe not.
I'm still not sure what happened with Spring-Heeled Jack. There were like the cultists, there were more than there were a bunch of suits with it. Spring-Heeled Jack suits that were around. I'm confused. Do you guys remember exactly what that was all about?
I think they left it ambiguous, but I don't know, maybe if I replayed it more and thought about it more, then I'm sure that you can theorize, like, maybe the multiple suits indicates that there are just multiple people running around as Spring-Heeled Jack, so I feel like it's weird because it's not quite geared, like, the murder mysteries are you solve mysteries, and the Ghost Club missions are you don't. So it feels like almost weird because you spend so much time investigating these murder mysteries, and then there's this other mystery that stuff like an event happens, but you never look into it at all. Which I guess is it's a weird juxtaposition of like, you know, Evie running around talking to a bunch of people trying to figure out exactly what happened, to Evie just like accepting that whatever, it's strange, not going to look into it. But I don't know, that's not necessarily bad. It's just weird comparison, I guess.
Next
What
up.
did you guys... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you guys think of the Dead Letters mission where it's like Jacob has a letter from some woman like, oh, my love, and then you like look at a mattress and then you wake up at the end of it. I forgot how exactly it went, but it was really confusing. You guys remember doing that one?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
I remember that
basically
one.
a dream.
It's supposed to be a dream
Okay.
because you go to sleep and then you do the mission and then you wake up. So it's supposed to be all the and then like
Yeah.
if you then Jacob or Evie aren't sure if it was a dream but it seemed real. It's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and
cool.
then I thought that was at least kind of cool in acknowledging that they're really tired because they're constantly doing shit. Because at the beginning, Darwin is like, "You look not so great," and they're like, "Oh, I'm just a little tired." And then they fall asleep on a mattress in the middle of the street, so must be pretty tired.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. I think that one's probably my least favorite overall. Just because it doesn't seem to quite fit with the rest of them. It's just like, well, you had a dream. It was a weird dream. You had it, though. Though, I don't know, at the same time, I think it's weird that just from a story perspective, like, logically, you were actually there to solve a mystery with him, and it's like, what happened to the mystery while you were asleep? Like, did you just forget about the mystery? There was a golden carriage roaming the streets. What? That seems interesting. I don't know about that, but I don't know. I also don't know, because it seems like a mission that's focused on Jacob, because the love letter is for Jacob. But I think it's weird that Evie would dream about a love letter for Jacob as well. And then I guess one thing that they succeeded on is having it being really disjointed like a dream. Like, there's no logical progression of events. it even kind of slightly jerks away from your expectations of the game, because you expect, like, especially if you play the murder mysteries, whenever you're given a scene with things to investigate, you expect nothing to happen until you investigate all the things. But this one lets you investigate 3 things, and then you have to chase after a cart. You leave the 4th thing uninvestigated.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's interesting in that regard, but I still find it... I don't know. It just didn't quite satisfy me as a mission, I guess.
I think this would be a good time to talk about the Darwin-Dickens conspiracy. Did you guys get a chance to play that?
Nope.
That was
I
one of the
still
missions
have
that
it.
just didn't decide to load into my bundle of pre-order goodies.
Yeah.
I think you guys should be count yourself lucky because you don't have to
Okay.
experience that piece of crap. The Darwin-Dickens missions, there are only 2 missions. The first one involves you picking up... No, the first one involves you meeting Darwin, then suddenly you find out that some mean guys have stolen his orchid, so then you have to chase them. But the timer to catch them starts before you can move, so you sit there watching them run away for 5 seconds without moving, which is the most frustrating thing that a game can do. Then, so you catch that, and then he's all like, oh, thanks, I think this might be an important orchid. No more explanation than that. Then the second mission, you meet Dickens, and you need to pick up his friend from the train station, who's coming back from South Africa. And so you pick him up, and then the friend's all like, oh, hey, I'm meeting my betrothed. Would you be able to help me out with something? And then Evie's all like, well, I was playing as Evie, so Evie was all like, I guess. And then he was all like, I want to make sure if she actually loves me and if I'd be interested in marrying her. Could you help me fake my death and tell her that I'm dead and see what her reaction is? And Evie's just like, that seems like a really bad idea, but like, okay. So we do that. Then me and that friend go and tell her that he's dead. And she's all like, oh no, my love. And then he's all like, oh yeah, I actually kind of like her. She seems nice. And then he's just like, but how will I get back knowing that she thinks I'm dead? And then suddenly it turns into, they need to convince... No, she's walking along, okay. The date is walking along, then Evie needs to attack her, then the friend needs to jump out of the shadows and beat Evie in a fight, and then they'll be madly in love with each other. And it's actually really surprisingly hard to lose that fight, because I've been like really upgrading my health and things, so I actually had to sit there, and you're not allowed to just sit there and take his beating, you actually have to fight back, otherwise it looks too staged. So I basically had to sit there, get hit 5 times, hit him, and over like the course of 5 minutes, I eventually went down and he was allowed to woo her. It's a very strange mission, and that's every single Darwin-Dickens mission there. You just got...
Nothing says I love you like beating up a woman. That's the moral of this mission?
Yeah,
Really? That's
exactly.
it? Oh my... This is awful.
And
Another
Yeah.
one, like, I feel like this mission's gonna be kind of crappy. And it is.
yeah, you know, also staging your own death is a good way to find out whether she actually loves you or not, and you actually are fit for each other.
This is really stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and Evie was just like this. Actually, Evie basically parroted that. This is a really stupid idea. I don't know.
Evie's at least sensible through this whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think she realizes, like, this isn't the kind of thing that a girl would want at all. I don't know what they do in South Africa, but this isn't it. So that was both the missions. That was interesting. It didn't look anything like the Darwin-Dickens trailer.
I think the Darwin-Dickens trailer took things from the Darwin-Dickens missions in-game.
Yes.
Like the main...
Only things from in-game. None of them were from the actual Darwin-Dickens conspiracy.
Also,
mission.
it doesn't sound like there was an actual conspiracy.
There wasn't a conspiracy. If there was one, then somehow that orchid and the friend from South Africa were related. As far as I can tell, they weren't. I was wondering if there was some kind of historical context behind Darwin getting a really important orchid delivered, because I think that's the only explanation that would make any sense for that first mission, and the second mission just confuses me. Do you guys know of any Darwin orchids that were important?
Sounds sort of familiar.
Yeah, I thought it sounded sort of familiar, but I really did not care enough to look it up.
Yeah, that's just bad. There is something called Darwin's orchid.
Well, there we go. That's probably it. Didn't explain that at all in the
Yeah.
game. Didn't expand on that. It's just like, oh hey, it's Little Flower. I like Little Flower.
I mean, yeah, it seems rough. I mean, Assassin's Creed has never quite had. It's never really done pre-order content well at all.
Now let's talk about the Darwin missions. I really liked how Darwin was introduced with him and doing his own investigation, and then Jacob runs into him in the story. What did you? I don't remember much of Darwin's side missions in particular because I don't think they were all that. Most of them were like just defending him, and tearing down posters and things like that.
That
What
was
did you guys think?
Florence Nightingale's other appearance was in, I think, the last one.
Yes. So what did you guys think of Darwin's inclusion? What did you think of his missions?
I liked his missions, I think, although there's one or two that are weird. Like, you're given this objective to tackle this guy, but you can't catch up to him until he gets to a certain point. Plus he's dropping, like, dynamite and making horses freak out, so he can get run over. And, I mean, he can't be killed by the horses, but he can get run over, and you can catch up to him, but you can't tackle him. So that's a little weird, gameplay-wise. But I also... There's one where you have to deal with, like, poisonous pollen. Hallucinogenic pollen. And I thought that one was really fun, because you get to the... You're on this part where you're essentially... you have a cart full of the stuff, and you're being chased by blighters. And the full sync objective is to use the pollen to make the drivers hallucinate and drive off the road. And I thought that was cool, at least. That's probably my favorite of them. But, I don't know. They're not, like, fantastic missions, but they're fun.
Yeah, I like that one, especially the pollen one. Although it was a little strange to me that they were just, like, creating this hallucinogenic pollen, which almost acted like a gas. How it just kind of surrounded the flower. And it didn't really do anything to the person that you to the twins though either. It didn't do nearly as bad things to the twins.
Yeah,
they just kind of the vision got kind of blurry. Really, it looked more like I wasn't wearing my glasses than freaking out. And
it reminds me of ye olde aperture science deadly neurotoxin.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you guys think of Darwin's portrayal though? I really liked it. I liked him as a character.
Yeah, he's a fun guy.
Kind of eccentric scientist.
Lovable guy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He seems... I don't know if it's just, like, the way people normally think of him or whether I just assumed. But I always kind of assumed he was not so jovial. And I liked his joviality in the game. Maybe that's a product of Syndicate being lighter in tone generally, or maybe they're actually going off of who he was, which would not be surprising, and would be good.
Yeah, I really liked him as a character. He was a ton of fun to be around, and he was always super happy about things, other than when his orchid was stolen. Yeah, I really liked him. I really liked his inclusion. Now, let's talk a little about the most controversial of them all, Mr. Karl Marx himself.
Let's talk about Marx, baby. Sorry. I thought he was kind of cool. I did one mission last night of his side mission things, so I really got to see very little of him, but I kind of liked the way he was portrayed because he has this thing where there's this one guy who's not loyal to the cause and the revolution. And in the end, Marx is like, hey, if you don't agree with it, you know, we don't want to make you do something you don't want, so just go do your thing. And I was like, that's cool, because a lot of people think Marx is like, yeah, you know, fuck everybody, let's do our own thing. And if you're not, like, basically they associate the ideas from the Russian Revolution, which are basically a horrible corruption of his actual ideas, with him. And I like how this mission kind of tried to break that. So Marx thought, like, this is for us that we want to do, and if you want to help us, cool. If not, like, you know, okay. What did you guys think? Do you agree with that assessment of how he acted?
I mostly agree with that assessment. What I've noticed is that I think there was a guy on the subreddit who posted, like, a rant about Marx's portrayal, and he's like a mod. He was like a mod or something for like the Karl Marx subreddit. And like what I noticed is that I think both sides that are unhappy with Marx's portrayal in the game think he's essentially too moderate in the game. Like the people who, really subscribe to Marx's philosophy over on his subreddit are like, man, he's way too radical. Ubisoft really could have used him to push Marxist philosophy, or he's not radical enough. And Ubisoft should have used him to push Marxist philosophy and really show what his ideas are about. And then the other side of the coin is people who are like, man, Marx is way not radical enough. We should not be helping him this much. And his portrayal is like, because they are, again, the people who associate his views with the Russian Revolution. So they don't align with those views of Marx. I personally thought Marx himself was fine, but I found it interesting, slightly depressing, like the movement in all of Marx's missions is constantly betrayed or its members die.
Yeah.
It just felt kind of morbid. Like it was like almost like, is Ubisoft trying to say something with that? But I don't know. I'd rather not figure it out.
I really liked Marx's portrayal. He seemed really nice. I really liked what he was saying, like what he was actually saying himself. It's interesting how the kind of reaction that has been online, some of it has been really, really strong, both positive and negative to what he was doing. It's interesting how, I saw that round too, and he was saying that we shouldn't be celebrating a man who inspired the next 100 years of violent dictators that committed genocides. And I think it's interesting that people kind of chalk that all up to Marx himself. It's like, I almost think it's almost like crucifying Jesus Christ for what the Crusaders did. He didn't tell them to do that. He created an ideology which eventually led to that. But Marx himself was not saying we should kill everyone who doesn't agree with us. From my understanding,
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
I'm not a professional on all this.
Marx is honestly the one of the less by our modern definition of radical, he's one of the less radical communists, honestly. Just because the way we tend to think of radical now is violent radicalism, which is not unfounded, obviously. But Marx is very much like, we're gonna have some uprisings, but we're gonna go through several stages, and it's going to be a while before we get to this perfect ideal of communism. And then the place where most people get this other idea of communism that is always like this horrible thing is that so Marx says that you have to go through democracy first to get to proper communism, where you're having everyone work for the common good.
That was something I definitely recognized, how he was trying to get votes in favor of passing laws for child labor and workers' rights, as opposed to inspiring revolutions.
Yeah, exactly. And basically what the Russian Revolution does is it's like, we can skip the democracy stage and we'll just have a dictatorship so we can enforce this and get everybody there faster, which does not work. And I mean, obviously the dictatorship overshadows the communist everyone helps everyone ideology. So communism gets a bad rap because of that. I mean, it's still not a perfect philosophy, and I wouldn't recommend it, but at the same time, I don't think if I was on the outside of capitalism, I would recommend it either. It's a bit of a weird juxtaposition because the game is very much, in a lot of places, like the main bad guy is this huge capitalist. Who honestly actually says some really sympathetic things sometimes. Like I was replaying it recently, and he was like, by the way, spoilers for Sequence 7, or Sequence 6, but basically at a certain point, Jacob ruins the currency of the nation, and it's totally fucked in the toilet, and Starrick is like, I raised the pay of all my workers to combat rising inflation. I was like, that is a very reasonable, cool thing of you to do, Crawford Sterick. Wow. But so it's weird because you've got all this. Mostly capitalism is bad. I mean,
Definitely.
The target of sequence 6 is definitely that way. But then you've also got these Marx missions, which are sort of like have this weird stance on communism that's not really for it. I mean, like the twins very much refuse to like actually commit to communist ideology.
Yeah, they think they should be probably a bit politically neutral because of their like strength
Yeah.
and power.
Kind of like Geralt.
Yeah.
I think
I would be interested, just because, I mean, I've been reading the Witcher books a bit, and one of the things in one of the books, at least the one I'm on, is Geralt is constantly like, I'm neutral, stop trying to, like, get me to do X.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several points where it's like, well, maybe you really shouldn't be neutral in all things. As, I mean, by the time of The Witcher 3, you've got the Nilfgaardians ravaging the countryside, and I think this is a recurring problem in the Witcher universe, because it's very much that's the problem in the books, and he's starting to see like nations fall and horrible tragedies occur, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't be neutral. I can't say what his eventual decision is because I haven't finished the book yet, and I expect that's going to be one of the major things that's wrapped up later.
What were you saying, Ares?
about Darwin, about Marx, and the whole idea of the political side of this. What really made me interested in his portrayal right off the bat with his introduction to Jacob and Evie is he's like, oh my God, Jacob, Evie, Fry, you guys are so cool. I know all your work. But here's the thing. A lot of what you do helps out, the sort of like middle classy, upper-ish people, which is cool, but you guys need to help the people who need it most, the working poor. And that was part of the trailer where it's like, the working people, in all these factories and whatnot. But his whole deal was like these people, the very, very bottom, are being absolutely shat upon by the way that the economy works and how production necessitates that you put a bunch of people in a very hot box for 18 hours and then let them go afterwards, and then put them back the next day. And a lot of his legislation, McCracken, like you were saying, was all geared towards like we don't really need to go super far into this whole thing, but his philosophy was a reaction to the situation. So really, in getting the child labor laws, the laws about workplace standards and hours and stuff, was really fulfilling a lot of Marx's goals. Even though I think he stated a lot of the things that he wanted to do, like government controls a lot of the factors of production, stuff like that. I think he would have been really happy to see the progress that his movement made in England and other places, even before the whole Russian Revolution thing went to hell. But I liked that they touched on the very human element of his revolution, which was not like, the capitalists, I hate them. It's, we have to take care of the people who are, building all of the stuff that we use in our lives. And that's, they're people too. So I really like that.
Yeah. Just like, I don't know, I kind of want to give a little bit of historical background here, but going off of that, I mean, Marx isn't reacting to capitalism as like we know it now. He's really reacting to the Industrial Revolution's capitalism, which just the way the Industrial Revolution comes about is, you've got like a factory, then the jobs are the factory. So everybody moves to the factory. So the factory builds housing for the people. So they own their house. I mean, the factory owns their house. So all these people owe their to the factory. And because this like moves them away from other things, the factory, the people can't get their basic food needs necessarily as well as if they were still somewhere else in the city or in the countryside where they're farming. So the company builds general stores, which are geared to essentially just like keep them at the subsistence level, like, because the company is totally in control of the prices there, because they have the monopoly basically on food and stuff, and your soap and all the daily goods we take for granted now. But like, basically, the way it ends up, and I mean, Steric really hits this with his T speech, is that the lower class and especially factory workers are really dependent on the factory for their entire livelihood.
Yeah, and
so
basically,
it's like,
the
so
factories
Marx is
would own
reacting
you.
to like the worst form of capitalism at the time, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So I really don't think Marx would be all up in arms about today's capitalism as you would the capitalism of 150 years ago,
Yeah, I
and
think he'd
that's
be
for a
pissed
very
about the
good
Russian
reason.
Revolution.
I mean, he wouldn't be very happy with it today, but I mean, he was really reacting to conditions that we basically do not see anymore in our modern economy, as annoying as our modern economy is.
This was all touched on with the assassin communists versus Templar capitalists. Discussion was touched on in this week's episode of the official Assassin's Creed podcast, where they sat down with Oliver Bowden and talked about AC Underworld. Did you guys get a chance to listen to that?
I did listen to that.
Not yet.
So
it's
very interesting. I'll talk about that real quick. I'm also reading Underworld at the moment, but I'm not very far into it. Are you guys reading Underworld at the moment?
I'm waiting until I'm flying places. But I have
I
the book.
will
It
read
has
about
actually
something.
arrived, and I still need to go get it from the mailroom, but it's here.
So in this podcast that was released today with Esco, Gabe, and all about it, they touched on how the Assassin's Stronghold is really in India at this point in time. They are really, really powerful in India, and India hasn't really felt the impacts of capitalism yet, of, like, the expansion of industrialism. Like, you have everyone working on the tea farms and things like that, but they don't have trains and they don't quite look like industrial London just yet. So when they get to London and they start entering into England, they haven't really worked out how to use these new industrial tools to their advantage, while the Templars have been using the industrial tools to their advantage for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
So that's why we often see, like, when we first get there, Jacob and Evie get, like, the rope launcher and things like that. So that's new gear that the Assassins haven't even thought about using just yet. And so it's interesting how they're kind of fighting against progress in a way, because they don't understand and they haven't been able to quite adapt to it yet. The Assassins, as an organization, are still acting as if it's 100 years ago and the French Revolution is on, which I felt was very interesting, and it kind of mirrored that kind of conflict that was depicted with Marx in the game. Now, our next celebrity historical character only appears after the game, so if you haven't finished the game and don't want to know about who this is, we won't be talking about the ending itself, but we will be talking about the character. You should stop now. Now we're going to talk a bit about Queen Victoria's missions, which were a brilliant epilogue. Is that the right one?
Yeah, I mean, they really are an epilogue.
Yes, okay, good. They are a really great epilogue to the game, and I personally really enjoyed them, as well as Queen Victoria's inclusion in the game herself. She's very strong in the game. She doesn't take any shit from anyone, and she looks very strange up against Evie, wearing the Aegis outfit, which we talked about last week, which you could definitely check out that episode. Guys, what do you think about Queen Victoria's mission, and what do you guys think about Queen Victoria's portrayal in Syndicate?
I liked how everything blows up.
Oh, yes,
That was cool.
Definitely.
Each mission is blow up a different element of my empire, please. Trains, boats, carriages, do it all.
I mean, I don't think the last episode is very much focused around preventing the Houses of Parliament from blowing up, but something still blows up, but I forget what it is.
I was only able to play the first two. And then tragedy struck.
You silly person.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I know how it ends.
Murder mysteries. You just need to
Hey,
get
Ed,
on this, man.
it's not my fault. I'm writing a wonderful essay about the use of the first person with with Petrarch, Montaigne, and Rembrandt, but that's taking a little bit of my Syndicate time away, so...
Well, you got a week left for that.
Yep. Then I'm free.
Classes end to us in just a
Yes,
week.
oh, thank God. And finals week, but anyway,
Yeah,
Victoria.
but finals week, you have like a couple finals, but you have so much free time as well.
But I've got like 4 finals. But anyway, Victoria.
Queen Victoria's missions
So,
follow the Assassins now. The Assassins now control London. They are now fighting and trying to keep control of London from the Templars, and the Templars are trying to retake London by blowing things up. That is where we come in. We are acting as Queen Victoria's basically secret assassin agency, which is similar to what we see in World War I. Given that, Winston Churchill knows about the assassins, but he's not an assassin personally. Just the assassins kind of do things for him to keep the peace, which
I like as a system. Like the assassins are kind of like right there next to the big fish in British government.
Yeah, definitely. They're kind of like the behind the scenes, and they're usually the good guys. So they're usually fighting on the same side as the nice government.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed Queen Victoria's missions. They were pretty bland for the most part, just by themselves, because you went and killed some people, stopped stuff from blowing up, or blew up some stuff. But seeing more of Queen Victoria was fun. Meeting her, talking to her some more was really cool. Getting more time out of it. And then finally that final cinematic was also really great. I really enjoyed that final cinematic as well. Mm-hmm. Connor, you actually played them. What did you think?
I thought they were fun. I mean, yeah, like gameplay wise, they're pretty bland, but I do just like the amount of stuff that blows up.
Fair enough.
I thought the Parliament one was really frustrating, actually. Especially for the full sync requirement. I mean, you don't, for the trophy, you do not need to do full sync on any of these side missions. But it's you're at this point, like, you've got a bunch of essentially suicide bombers in Parliament.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And there's a full sync for letting a suicide bomber blow up but not hurt anybody, and that's impossible, essentially.
Oh yeah, man, I don't even see where that would happen.
Yeah, it's really hard. Because I felt like even when I got one, I think you can kidnap them and get them away from people, but then they pull the thing after you let go, and then they run towards people, and then they blow up people, or you. So that was rough, but I do like that they reused the Parliament map.
Yeah, that was a good map.
Yeah, I like, it's like the buildings, there's not as many buildings that you can go in this game, but every building you can go in feels really precious, so like I like when you get to go inside one. Maybe with the whatever map we get for Jack the Ripper, we'll get a few landmarks that they'll let you go inside. Though if they just do Whitechapel, then I don't think there are any real notable landmarks in Whitechapel to go inside, so that's not a thing. But yeah, I thought they were fun missions. Not like, I mean, it's not like they're a great epilogue. They're just sort of there. It's like the premise is basically, big bad Templar is dead. Other Templars are trying to reassert themselves, stop them. And that's like your thin story justification. So it's kind of cool that like you tie up loose ends, but story-wise, it's nothing special, and gameplay-wise, it's for those of you that played the last mission, it's somewhat better than the final boss fight, but only if you really hated the final boss fight.
Check out the spoiler cast for more on that, because we talked a lot about
definitely.
that.
But I really enjoyed the final cinematic where Evie sits down and talks with Queen Victoria about not being imperialist
Look,
anymore.
Vicky, gotta tell you.
Yes, exactly. And Queen Victoria wants to try and make them like official government members and like perhaps like the Queen's Guard or something. And they're just like, no, we're not allowed to do that. That's not kind of what the assassins do.
And Evie's like, hey, Queen, but you should stop being so, imperialistic. That's kind of not cool. But so it's kind of a ballsy thing to say to the Queen, and I think the Queen liked Evie before that, and I felt like the Queen got really cold there for a second. She's like, I see.
Yeah, exactly. And Jacob's just looking at Evie like, did you really just say that to the Queen? What?
Yeah.
But also, I love how there's the one other cutscene when Queen Victoria is like, oh, Evie, what's up? And Jacob's like, you know the Queen? I like how they buddy up before the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
was cool.
Can I just say, I think that the game does not give you credits before this, and it definitely doesn't give you credits after this.
Yeah.
Oh
don't know-
yeah, I
don't know
never saw the
where-
credits in Syndicate.
I don't know where they are. I know there are some because Joker posted a screen cap of them.
They are in the menu under options.
Wow,
Okay.
that's
They're there.
different. Oh my god.
And it's just they just use Underground, actually, so they already use that in the... I feel like they wouldn't use it so close together, so I don't think there are credits. I mean, I'm replaying it now, so I will definitively tell you at some point whether or not there are credits, but I don't think there are credits. Like, traditionally,
interesting.
anyway.
The next set of missions that we're going to talk about real quick are the train hideout missions. They were small little things that you did with Agnes McBean and got some serious subtitle action for some things she said, which was
And Bill,
great.
you hate.
It was interesting how, like, actually some of the things she said that required subtitles are actually sayings in New Zealand, which I really liked. It was funny how, personally for me, that there's those cultural differences, and some of them have stayed over time. What do you guys think of the train hideout missions? The train hideout missions also include the pre-order missions, Runaway Train, and A Long Night. I've played Runaway Train, but I haven't played A Long Night. What do you guys think of all of those?
That's exactly my situation. I played Runaway Train, not A Long Night.
Yeah, same.
I thought Runaway Train was notable just because I don't actually know because I didn't measure the speed, but I think it's the fastest a train can go in the game, which is at least kind of cool for that novelty. But the gameplay is kind of bleh. Because it's go here, do a quick time event. Go here, do a quick time event. Cool, you win.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the most exciting thing ever for what it sounded like. I still kind of enjoyed it though, like even though there was just
It was neat.
burning
It's-
coal raining
Catching
down
up to
on
the
top of my
train was
head.
fun. I really
it's a-
liked the Gatling gun one. That was cool because, like,
Gatling
Gatling
gun's
guns. It was cool. Yeah, I just said that twice.
that
It was the
reminded
only
me of-
one that I really thought was remarkable out of the lot. Because there's another mission somewhere, I forget exactly where you do have another runaway train scenario. Someone's like, I made this train rigged to blow up. And then you're like, oh shit. It took me like 4 tries before I realized, oh duh, carriages are faster than running there. But I really only remember the Gatling gun one because that's the only one that involved doing something, unique and big and different.
Yeah, I actually found myself probably feeling like one of my favorite missions in the game is actually the second train mission, the one right before the Gatling gun, where you're just given like a courtyard, like a back alley in the Strand with a couple. There's a graveyard and stuff, and it's basically like you have to destroy these things, and you have to move a body. All while not being detected by the police and not killing any of them. And for some reason, I don't know why, but that mission just really felt fun to me. Because, I mean, conceptually it's not remarkable in any way, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I think I gave it like a 4 or 5 star review, which I never even remembered to do the reviews in the first place, so that's in itself like, huh. But,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I liked the Gatling gun mission because it reminded me of the exotic missions from Brotherhood with the war machines. Although this is much more plausible as well, technically.
Yeah.
It was fun. I think the full sync requirement is a little annoying, but it's still fun.
No thoughts on the train missions? I kind of like them for what they were. They're just like little side missions that kind of helped out the train. It was a really, really minor part of the game.
I liked the random character who was only in the train missions, whose name I don't remember.
That one guy.
Yeah, that dude.
He's on the train normally when you're otherwise.
Yeah, I just
around.
don't remember his name. But I liked, especially in the first mission where he's stalking Agnes McBean.
Yeah.
They actually put the time in to give him these really funny animations. Like he does like the hands behind the back innocent whistling kind of movement.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs into people and apologizes to people, and I just thought that was pretty funny to watch.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they at least, I feel like weirdly they put a decent amount of work into the train side missions that obviously they did not put into the Darwin and
The
Dickens
DLC.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
Or even some of the associate missions I thought were more slapped together than some of the train missions, but
I personally really enjoyed the Dreadful Crimes missions. They were a ton of fun and PS4 exclusive, so we won't be talking about the ending to those today because all of our friends on Xbox and PC haven't been able to play them yet.
friends. What are you talking about? They're not my friends. They're not on my friends list.
PS4 Most Race.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding, guys. We love you. But yeah, I really liked them. The ending was great, but as I said, we won't be talking about it. The individual missions were really good. It was like a great expansion on Unity's murder mysteries, really. That's pretty much what you can expect from it. Really fun, really feel like a detective doing them. Really like the Mind Palace style thing from Sherlock.
Yeah, super Sherlocky, the text. Oh,
Yeah.
that was a great touch.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, they felt like how I expected the murder mysteries in Unity to play before I played them. Where you're actually like re-interviewing subjects, getting new answers, finding pieces of evidence, and re-interrogating people, and also just using physical evidence from crime scenes to find your way to new leads. Like there's a puddle of beer spilled in the road, and if you follow the trail of spilled beer, it takes you to this other place. And even sometimes in the text, like I'm thinking about this one particular mission repeatedly with these, but there's actually I think 2 missions where you're like, okay, something fell, and then you can use Eagle Vision, and the text will say like, okay, it fell from here, probably up here. Like you get a trail of text that says like falling or something.
Yeah, I know that one. There's
that's
2 of them that are like that, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Deathstalks the Colonel does it with a revolver. That one stumped me. That was the first one where I was like, I had to like adjust my thinking to find new stuff, and that was with actually the fall text and the revolver.
Mm-hmm.
So I expected like in Unity, every piece of evidence just tells you to go to another place. Like if it's giving you another place, it's like an address, right? It's not usually leading you there. I think that was really well utilized.
So, overall, guys, what did you think about... We talked a little bit about the collectibles last week. We talked about how hard it was to 100% those. What do you guys think about getting 100% sync with the side missions?
I think the side missions are stupid hard to get 100% sync in.
Oh, really?
I wasn't trying.
Yeah,
don't know.
like I said, that last Queen Victoria mission is stupid hard to do. That. Let me think. What other ones are there? As far as just associate missions, I don't know. I think most of them, I guess, are doable. But that one side mission is like the Giant in the Storm from AC3. That's just stupid hard, for no reason.
Alrighty. So this has been episode 39 of the Animus podcast. Fun episode, guys. I really liked it. Last episode was good too. You should go. Definitely check that out. I am Aftermath. That is Aries. Say goodbye, Aries.
Bye.
That is Connor, aka McCrackaway. Say goodbye, Connor.
Goodbye from my heart. Goodbye.
Thank you, Connor. This has been episode 39. We welcome you to return to us next week. If you have any questions for us, actually, I didn't check if we have any questions. I'm going to do that right now, actually. If you have any questions for us, and you can send them to us anywhere that we are. You can send them to us on Twitter, on Reddit, to our email, amazonpodcast@gmail.com. We didn't have any questions. That's good. I'm glad that I
Okay,
remembered that.
cool.
Thank you all for joining
week-
us. We will see you all next
Should
week.
we say
for episode 40.
next week is episode 40?
Next week is
And you
episode
should
40.
definitely send in questions for that.
Definitely send in
episode.
questions for episode 40. Episode 40 is going to be a ton of fun. Definitely send in questions for episode 40. Thank you, and have a great week.